10 preview of the BiddieCast. Your host, Sean Klein, alongside me, Dave Fest. Dave, how's it going this week?
It's going. This league is starting to get very interesting. We are getting a little bit of separation, but still a lot to be determined here. This is where it gets interesting in the season, for sure.
Yeah, and just when you think the standings can't get any tighter, they actually do. Let's dive into the scores and see what happened this week. First game of the week. Well, it's you.
Yes.
141-94. What happened?
Ben got some injury bugs for his quarterbacks. He was unable to start a second quarterback. Tyrod Taylor was his starting quarterback there, 8 points. Not going to get it done. His top score was 17 points with Deontay Johnson. Bettleman, the highest scorer, 17 points.
And Chase Edmonds also on his team. We'll talk about him later. The next game this week, the UK Bills, 151. I think that's the high score of the week over Double D, 132, who also had a very large score, but unfortunately just playing against the wrong team.
Yeah, Nick Chubb, big game for UK Bills, and on the other side, Carson Wentz and Lamar Jackson, big games for Double D. But yeah, UK Bills just got it done when it mattered the most.
Bend it like Beckham, another large score, 144-107. What happened here for Bendit to set him over the top this week?
You look at he had some pretty mediocre scoring, right? 28 from Joe Mixon, 19 from Trevor Siemian.
I wouldn't say 28's mediocre. I would be very happy with 28.
Yeah, for Joe Mixon, for your running back, that's very good. Absolutely, I agree there. But on the flip side, he didn't really have any competition against with AAA. Dropped another one.
Buffalo Angela getting back in the win column.
Yeah.
130-120.
Impressive win over her. She was playing a bottom feeder team. These are the teams you need to beat. This is the team that's Buffalo going to Jacksonville. Got to beat these games. Unfortunately for the Bills, they didn't get it done, but Angela sure did.
Killer Tomatoes getting in the win column as well. 108.
What happened here?
101.
What happened? Is this like the equivalent to the Jags beating the Bills? In this league?
Sort of. I knew early in the week it was going to be trouble because I have two Jets. On this team, I have two Jets. One of them got injured, and the other one just didn't produce that game after having a 30-point week. And then it just hurts to have James Conner on my bench scoring 40. A lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas in this, but in the end, Killer Tomatoes put up a lot of points that would have beat many teams in the league this week.
Yeah.
Looking at the standings.
Yeah, things a little bit of a shake-up here. Not a big change in the top four. I think you're starting to see those top 3, top 4 teams starting to solidify their spots in the playoffs. I'm sure there's still a lot to go. But that the middle of the pack there, 5, 6, 7 is still have to be decided.
Well, we have 6 teams make the playoffs this year, correct?
I believe so, yes.
I believe it's the top 6. So right now you're looking at UK Bills, your team, Buffalo Angela, Bendit, Double D, Muppets, right?
If you hit projected playoff bracket, it'll tell you what the playoffs will be right now.
I didn't think that far ahead. That's not clickable.
Yeah, it's there's a lot left. A lot of games left, right? We have 7 games left in the regular season, so 6 games actually, I think. So still a lot of time for the teams that are in the basement to kind of crawl their way up, but the error from
they're not that far either.
Right, but the room for error is low, right? They lose another game, things are looking bleak. They lose 2 more games, probably done with.
Right.
They season's not over, but it's not good.
It seems like this week was one of the first times, though, that we could say that most teams went unscathed when it came to the injury report. I guess the 2 people we could key in on are Aaron Rodgers, who we knew he was going to be out last week, But now there's
Right.
still even question into the future. Um, who knows if there's going to be any sort of disciplinary action against him? I don't see why there would be. I mean, there's nothing that said that he couldn't lie, but not that it makes it right. But
Right. Fines. I don't think he needs suspension. I think he might get fined, but there's a question about whether he'll play this week, just because he's technically won't be eligible to return to the team until Saturday, and who knows without any practice if what that's going to be, and that's if he doesn't test negative, if he doesn't test positive during that time. So,
right, and I think the takeaway from this is we saw how Jordan Love could perform, and it
not
wasn't
good.
it wasn't that nice. No. So I think Green Bay, and if you have any players on that Green Bay offense, they really need Rodgers back in the lineup.
Yeah,
Next guy,
I'd agree.
Chase Edmonds.
So I missed it. What happened to Chase Edmonds?
Chase Edmonds going to be out a few weeks. He had an ankle injury. I believe it's an ankle. He's gonna be on the IR. I'm looking this up right now. Yeah, it's an ankle injury, and he was putting together a fairly good season. He was clearly the lead back, or I shouldn't say clearly, but he was taking the bulk of the carries in Arizona, and he was putting up enough points at least for Ben to be able to start him this week. Unfortunately, he only gave him 3 yards, and
Oof.
that really sucks when your player goes down that early, and you got him in your starting lineup, and you're stuck there with the .3. When maybe someone else could have had their player injured in the fourth quarter, and at least they've got 15 points or whatever. And that
Yeah, I
that
mean,
wasn't the
fantasy
case
football is a
here.
cruel sport. We tried to we did have a rule we tried out last year to combat that. It didn't stick around, which I understand. But I mean, that's fantasy football. I mean, it's it's why you play the game, right? It's for those kind of things. You
Right.
can't
So
not start a player because you're scared they're going to get hurt. It's
Edmonds is
just
going to miss 3 to 4 weeks, maybe a little bit more, but I think they're putting him on the IR if they haven't already. By the time this gets up on YouTube, I wouldn't be surprised if when people are viewing this cast that he's already been put on IR, at least for the
sure.
3 game IR.
Yeah.
To the power rankings. So after weeks of being in the dumpster, do you have any faith in Killer Tomatoes eking their way up the power rankings?
I mean, I think they might be able to find themselves in 9, 8, maybe 7.
Wow, that would be a big jump from
It
10.
would be, and you look at the teams ahead of them. Those two couple teams, Anton and Bitches and Tomato and the Biddies. I mean, they're
It,
right there with them.
it's getting really close between all of those guys.
Yeah,
But coming in at number 10, consensus ranking says it's Anton's team.
yeah. I mean, he is just his team is just in a free fall. And I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm impartial and I want the best team to win every Sunday, but it feels a little bit better seeing Anton's team fail because his team whooped my ass last season. This is a little bit of got a little bit of vendetta against him, so I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, and I think Rob really showed something this week in getting over 100 points, and so I
Yeah,
think
it's
that
tough for
gave
his
us,
team.
yeah, that gave us both a little bit of promise that maybe his team's trending upwards and
Yeah,
Anton's team's trending downwards, which is the reason for the change in the rank there. Coming
yeah.
in at number 8, Paul.
Yeah, I think they've been sticking around this spot, 7 and 8 for like the last
Yeah,
few weeks. No real changes. Unfortunate. You mentioned it before in our previous cast that he's got a good team. It's just that they got some bad matchups. But yeah, at the end of the day, you got to score more points. I mean, and I think he's top 5 or top 4.
and the bad matchups continue this week playing your
Yeah,
team. By the way, we'll
yeah,
get to that
absolutely.
momentarily. Coming at number 7, the itty bitty TE by committee.
Yeah, I think I know we're doing a consensus here. I think I had these two teams swapped. You look at the last 5, 6 weeks, and I think Bitches has been a better team in that span of time. I think Bitty Bitty's only won one game in the last 5 or 6. But I mean, got to score more points, so you got to put them ahead of their is a consensus pick.
The bye weeks have been rough on the committee. Coming in
Yeah.
at number 6, Buffalo Angela. Despite a win this week, she doesn't really move up the rankings any.
Yeah, I mean, she's still one of the, I think she's top floor according to ESPN. Had a bit of a slip there, had a little bit of fall from starting in the number one ranks for the beginning of the season, but we'll see if she can turn it around and finish strong.
Number 5, Double D.
Yeah. What
He's
are your
been
thoughts
all
about Double D
over.
there? Yeah, Double D was in 1, 2, and now he's down to 5. What are your thoughts?
I mean, the Bears are who we thought they were.
We let him off the hook.
Yeah, I felt like Double D's probably right where he is. He's probably like a bubble team. Like if I looked at his team preseason, which again, hindsight's 2020, injuries happen, buys happen, all crazy kind of things happen. But I probably had him as like maybe the 7th ranked team, and I still feel like that's kind of where he is. But he's gotten lucky with some games, and he's gotten unlucky with some games. So I actually think 5 is a really good rank for him. Number 4 is the
Muppets.
Muppets.
How do you feel about your teams getting into the top 4 here?
I mean, despite a loss last week, I think it's rightful to put the Muppets in the top 4. They're a fairly healthy team, and they're getting healthier. Antonio Brown is getting healthier to coming back. I mean, the team's going to be on the upward trend. Not many more buys left, and with the quarterbacks on the waiver wire, if the nation even chooses to have a quarterback, I don't know. I just think they've still got a strong team that's in the top 4.
Maybe you should make a waiver move for PJ White.
Maybe I'll make a trade. Bend it like Beckham though leapfrogs the Muppets up to number 3.
Yeah, strong team. I mean, we talked about it. It's a strong team. I think he'll put the wins together when he needs to, right here down the stretch. And a team, definitely anybody above him and certainly below him in the playoffs. If you're catching a matchup against him, it's you got to be a little bit nervous.
Yeah, this is where it's getting critical. At number 2, the Knob Slobbers.
Yeah, I mean, again, I've won 6 in a row now. I think. I think I put myself number 1 just for that reason. I understand why UK Bills is ahead of me because UK.
You know what? I noticed something. You didn't rank your team number 1 this week. You purposefully ranked it number 2.
Yeah, you know what? Because I like that underdog mentality. Everyone's overlooking us. But yeah, I mean, UK Bills, they've scored the most points. I don't think I don't know how close I am to them in points scored. But you're the number 1 ranked team. You're tied for the winning record, the best record, and you had the most points scored.
Hey Dave, you got to talk into the microphone.
My microphone's right here. It's like right
yeah,
in
front you gotta like face it, not face away.
Okay. Well, anyways, because I have a second screen here. So, anyways, it's tough for me to justify putting UK Bills behind me when sure we're tied for the same record, but they have more points than me. So at the end of the day, in fantasy football, it's who scores the most points, right?
Right. That's what matters. All right. This week's scores. So far, you are leading with 25 wins, but I've done a little bit of catching up. Yep. I think it's been a slow catch up, maybe 1 game a week or so, but I've caught up to be within 4 of you, and it's still a long season to go. So hoping I can nail some of these this week. Who are you choosing between the Muppets and Double D?
I believe I want Double D here. I think Double D's got a better lined up team.
I think you're just flat out wrong. This is my lock of the week. I'm gonna take a Double D.
Lock of the week.
Yeah.
All right.
This is my lock.
Like it.
Bend it like Beckham over Killer Tomatoes. You gonna second guess Killer Tomatoes again?
No. Bend it. I'm
Buffalo
pretty sure
Angela and the UK Bills.
Yeah, I mean UK Bills. As much as I need this team that had me to lose, again, great team. They got a solid team.
Yeah, until they stop scoring the points. Knob slobbers and bitches.
I never bet against myself.
Not much there. And again, Paul has a good team. I just think he gets clobbered in every game, and that's kind of the way the cookie crumbles.
Sure is.
Itty bitty committee and Anton.
What a
Now
what
I
a this is like the Houston Texans versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know, this is the game no one really wants to watch. They have like the worst ranked play-by-play team. This is like, I don't know, who the fuck is it work?
Spiro and Solomon.
Yeah. Some like
No, it's Spiro
it's
and
like some
Jimmy
Buff
Healy.
State graduate is doing the sideline reporting. But I'm going with Anton here, and I guess it'd be somewhat of an upset. But I think Anton's forever changing team name wins this one.
Yeah, I don't know what Anton's committee is gonna be. Itty bitty QB committee.
I think last year when he played the tight ends, he did like running back by committee, but he ain't got no running back, so I don't.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to seeing what he comes up with this week, but I think he's gonna take an L. Players to watch. All right, I want to talk about Jimmy Garoppolo for a second because he's been really sneaky good. I don't know if you noticed this, but the last couple weeks, he's leading the league in quarterbacks at least. He's leading all quarterbacks in average points.
Jimmy G.
Jimmy G. Quietly doing it. He's just been consistent, so I think it's something to watch. There's a little fire under his butt after they started Trey Lance, and I think he's gonna rebound. I still think he's a good quarterback in this league. Maybe he just needed the right tools or the right motivation. I don't know. Who's your player to watch?
My player to watch is Josh Allen after, putting up an absolute dud. And, there's a lot of blame to be placed in that game. Sure, his offensive line did nothing to help him out, but he made some terrible decisions, some terrible throws. I think both those interceptions are 100% on him. So, he's been one of the top scorers in fantasy for the last few years now, even this season. I think he had 9 points, something like that, this week. Against a Jets team that is equally as bad as this Jacksonville team was, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on him. And, I even want to put his offensive line in the players to watch too, because, thinking just give the guy a half a fucking second to half a second to, see his receivers, he'll probably make something happen. So.
Junior's very upset about that loss, I can tell.
Yeah, loser. Hey, shut up.
Talking points this week. What do you want to talk about, Dave?
Yeah, I think I want to talk about home field advantage. Is that a thing anymore, really, in the NFL? It certainly wasn't last year because, there was no crowds last year. This year, actually, I looked it up. I crunched the numbers. You BiddieCast followers, I crunched some numbers. Home teams this year, Sean, what do you think they are? Out of, we'll call it 130 games.
They probably won maybe, I don't know, 69 of them.
Nice. They're 59 and 70. So numbers don't lie. There's no home field advantage anymore. I think this week was especially a bad for the home teams for the most part. Look at Dallas. Dallas got whooped. But home field advantage. Don't worry about home field advantage anymore because it's not a thing. It doesn't exist.
What? I sort of agree with you, but I disagree with you in a twisted way. Because there is such a thing as home field advantage. Are you on the ref's home field? Or are you on your own home field? This was ridiculous. I don't know if you saw this on Monday Night Football.
I heard about it. I didn't see it.
But a linebacker is just running over to the other side of the field. I don't know if he was getting in the huddle or getting over to the sideline, but either way, he did not mean to run into the referee. The referee just hip checks him. And then the most funny part about it is the ref immediately throws his flag directly in the air, like he was lifting a baton in I don't know, some gymnastics thing. Like he just it was Kerry Strug just landing a plant. I mean, the flags are
Great
getting
reference.
ridiculous. It's changing outcomes of games. And I mean, we can even talk about the Bills game because everyone saw the Bills game. There were a ton of missed calls and there were a ton of phantom calls too.
Yeah,
I mean,
they've got
to get this stuff under control.
Yeah, in that Bills Jags game, there was some very questionable calls. I mean, there was like a lot of false starts that weren't called. Mainly because I was on the right hand side, but there was multiple times where the right guard for the Jags left early and they never called it. Whether that would have changed that game necessarily, I mean, probably not. But overall, yeah, I mean, I actually heard about this penalty, and then there was also a taunting penalty in this game as well. That most people said it was towards the end of the game too, which was very, very questionable. I guess one of the players for the Bears, they got a sack, and then like he turned to the Steelers bench and like made a gesture or like turned to move, and the ref thought he was taunting him, so he threw the flag, and most people were like, "That's not a fucking taunt."
Right.
So I get it. Yeah, I think the refs have been like this year have been almost as bad as the replacement refs were a few years back. Like just missing some just terrible calls.
Well, and it's not just missing calls, but it's calling bullshit too.
Sure.
Like that there's a penalty on, it seems like, every single special teams play.
Yeah.
Now that tells me that one of two things is going on. Either the refs are just calling everything, or the coaches aren't doing their job coaching. So just the fact that there's so many penalties in the NFL is bizarre to me, because these are professional athletes that should be coached to not do that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think if you ask any coach, most coaches are going to be like, we're not going to blame this game, our loss, on penalties. They're always going to, shoulder the blame. But yeah, I think these refs have been absolutely garbage this year. I think there's been maybe a handful of teams who have benefited from it. And I don't think the teams are really going to surprise you. It's the Patriots, the Steelers, those top teams are kind of benefited from a little more. But
so before we leave tonight, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think the NFL is rigged to some extent?
I don't know. It's tough. I think I could see it being that. I think as we dive deeper and deeper into this betting, especially as these stadiums are having sports books in their stadium, I think we're going to see situations present themselves when we get refs that are crooked. Happen in the NBA, right? It's happened in college basketball. It's happened in college football. I don't recall a time it happening in the NFL. Wouldn't be surprised if it did. It probably happens in all major sports. But I mean, there's a lot of people who are in play to make a lot of money off of close or questionable calls, and these refs don't get paid a lot. They don't get paid a lot. And what do they lose if they are a crooked ref? Their job? Well, they might be getting paid more to make a phantom call than they ever were as a referee. So I think the NFL's got
but I think they would also be fined for whatever their winnings were.
Sure.
Like the penalties would be too steep to do it. But you're right. That doesn't stop people from doing it.
Sky judge. That's the way to do it. If there's clearly wrong penalties that are called in the game, if the NFL cannot be corrupt themselves, they can overrule such erroneous penalties. But I mean, I think we're probably a few seasons away from that happening.
At least a few, but I agree with you. I think that's where all sports need to go. Even in hockey, having a referee on the ice, okay, that's fine to drop the puck. But I can't tell you how many times refs get in the way of plays and they actually disrupt plays because they were just in the wrong place, wrong time. It's not the ref's fault. And as a player, you're always told, well, the ref's in play, you need to play around the ref.
Right.
So there's always that argument too. But it makes you wonder, what would the field of play be like if they weren't there? Just something to leave you with as we go away for another week. We'll be back with another BiddieCast next week. Dave, final words.
Yeah, everyone have a good weekend. Good luck this weekend. Go fuck yourselves.